All right, Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahawashi, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and peace and salutation to the elect. The name of this lesson will be titled America's First Big Business, Not the Railroads, but Slavery. And this is coming directly from Esau, so-called white man's mouth. Now, I did a little background research on this guy, Swevin Beckert, and I'm gonna play a quick video about him and just give a brief analysis of the quote-unquote bio in which he has. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because I want you brothers to fully comprehend and understand that this guy right here, okay, is or has done, in my opinion, a masterful work at connecting the dots for our people, specifically so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as it applies to America's first big business not being the railroads, but slavery. And I do not say that lightly. I say it so strongly that after I play this video, I show you one more documentation, I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to request and recommend that you brothers copy the link, in which I will leave below in this video. Open that link and print either a hard copy and or PDF and save it to your computer. That to me is how vital this information is, not just for yourself, but to me, for others, and to be able to use as a reference along with the Holy Scriptures, of course, which is the main guideline in which we use. However, when Edomites go into the history of capitalism and align it directly with slavery, to me is it's research that cannot be duplicated, because Esau, the so-called white man, they have access to these files, these libraries, these certain rooms and doors in which we as Israelites would never be privileged to. But with the evolution of the internet and with Yahawashi, increasing knowledge in the earth, I strongly suggest and recommend you brothers have a copy of the information in which I'm going to read. But as I said before that, I'm gonna play part of this video. We'll get to one more website that you brothers can just reference, and then we'll get to the bulk of the lesson. And Lord willing, it'll be edifying for the elect.
The entire history of cotton, it covers it from a global perspective, so it deals a lot with the agricultural side of the story, which has a lot to do with slavery in the Caribbean and Brazil and the southern United States, but it also very much focuses on the industrial side of the story, which first unfolded in Western Europe, in England and France, and then the northern United States, but eventually also in places like India, Brazil, Mexico, and elsewhere. And it does talk a fair amount about the difficult working conditions, not just on the slave plantations, but also in the manufacturing enterprises, in the industrializing parts of the world. And that's a story that in some ways it doesn't continue in this particular way in Western Europe, because or in New England, because that industry almost disappears. But that industry then moves into other parts of the world, such as China today and Bangladesh and Vietnam. And often working conditions in these parts of the world are still quite as bad as they were in Western Europe in the 19th century. So this is one of the stories that the book tells.
So yeah, as he's saying, this is just one of the stories of the book, and the reason why, like I said, I want you to see this guy and to hear this guy is because as I'm going to read this article, like I said, the dots that have been connected have been researched for I think he had mentioned in one of his other videos over the past 10 years to actually just create this one book. Now the article is going to cover this book and another book, but just to kind of give you some insight there. And one more thing, as I was stumbling through doing research about this guy, Stephen Beckert, these are the fees in which he charges to speak, okay? And I'm just going to read part of here where it talks about his biography. But for the Lord to put the spirit on this guy to where the words in which you're going to hear, to me, like I said, are, hey, they have been vetted, they have been regurgitated, and it's a mighty work in which, I mean, it takes the spirit of Yahawashi to put it on these Edomites, to where, as scripture says, they're causing their tongue to fall upon themselves, all right, which is beautiful for us. So it says, Stephen Beckert is a Laird Bell Professor of History at Harvard University. Beckert's research and teaching center on the history of the United States in the 19th century, with a particular emphasis on the history of capitalism, including its economic, social, political, and transnational dimensions. Okay. Yeah, you brothers can go back and read a little bit about that, but I just wanted to kind of give just a little value as to the background of this guy, how much he charges people to actually speak at events, and there's countless videos of this guy speaking. But let's get to the information, and it's pretty robust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this out into several snippets of videos. That way brothers can just digest more of the information versus it being just one long video. Yeah, let's get to it. It says here, let's just get down here. It says, matter of fact, let's just start with a quick scripture. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. Actually, I'm gonna start at 2. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen. That Babylon is talking about modern day America. Is fallen and is become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, the abundance of her delicacies, the merchants waxing rich, and that fornication all stem around slavery and the way in which Esau, the so-called white man, has capitalized globally off of slavery. This is how the merchants, the kings of the earth, Esau, the so-called white man, NATO, EU, have built their wealth here in this society, in this global empire, through slavery directly. The catalyst for every venture, every organization, every situation across this globe has been directly fueled by slavery of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Without that catalyst, nothing exists. So now it says, with such contemporary drama, historians have taken notice. They observe quite rightly that the world we live in cannot be understood without coming to terms with the long history of capitalism. Nowhere is this scholarly trend more visible than in the United States, okay, which is the reason why I had read about Babylon, aka America. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. This is Revelation 18:2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen. What has made Babylon, aka America, great? Capitalism. How has that capitalism evolved? From slavery. It says, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now it says, and no issue currently attracts more attention than the relationship between capitalism and slavery. Now, I'm going to read another quick verse, because everything in which Esau, the so-called white man, has done has been in conjunction with every other nation. You know, that, like I said, that